Tonight, Chairman of Opposition National Democratic Congress challenged governing MPP to a debate, questioning the party's development credentials as he declares the NDC is a clear winner when it comes to developing the country in the Fourth Republic.
Tell our opponents to engage us in debate and we tell them that in terms of infrastructure development, in terms of supply of services to this country, NDC, we are head and coast apart when it comes to any comparison. So, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Amazonians, let us be proud of our achievement.
As the party celebrates its 30th anniversary, we tell you why some founding members are demanding tough sanctions against the party elements who campaign for internal positions on factional lines.
They even took money, according to the complaint. It's not a petition again. It's not a petition again. So, I mean, in such clear cases, the party should take very serious disciplinary action against them. And to serve as a lesson to others that we mean business.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. The main opposition, National Democratic Congress, is tonight celebrating its 30th anniversary with a daring the governing New Patriotic Party to a debate. The NDC National Chairman, Samuel Fosu-Ampofo, has just made the bold declaration that the NDC is the sole political party that has contributed the most to the country's development in the Fourth Republic. He says when it comes to that, in terms of development, the NDC is a clear winner. Ms. Ampofo has also been speaking about how the NDC has survived 3 decades as a result of unflinching dedication to his rank and file, despite attempts by their major opponents, the MPP, to disorganize and destroy the party.
The NDC has contributed to the development of the country more than any other political party in the Fourth Republic. It is the NDC that introduced and implemented the National Electrification Program, which connected all regions and districts of this country with electrification or to the national electricity grid. Indeed, the rural electrification, the SHARP projects were all undertaken by the NDC government. Ever since that Kosovo Dam was built and the Pond Dam was built, it is the NDC who changed the generation mix and brought the Aquatic thermal plant together in order to add thermal complementarity to our energy mix. And beyond that, all other expansion of the energy mix has been spearheaded by the NDC. To the extent that when the MPP came to power, they were complaining that we have generated more power than it is needed. I'm surprised that when we come and inherit something more, we even complain that we have inherited something more. But we NDC, we are proud of our achievement. It is the NDC that provided more health infrastructure than any other political party, including the building of regional hospitals. All the regional hospitals in the country can be attributed to the handiwork of the NDC. The Interpreting Hospital in Cape, the Hope Regional Hospital, the Accra Regional Hospital, the Tsunami Regional Hospital, the Koforidua Regional Hospital, the Tamale Teaching Hospital, the Rao Regional Hospital. Every region in this country is the handiwork of the NDC. Come and talk about education. All the polytechnics were put in place by the NDC, and we upgraded them into technical universities. There were only 3 public universities in this country. Every other public university was put in place by the NDC government. Talk about the University of Development Studies. Talk about the University of Health and Allied Sciences in Rome. Talk about the University of Energy and Renewable Studies in Tsunami. Talk about the University of Sustainable Development and Environment in Somalia. And then every tertiary institution that has been put in place, NDC is credited with it. In the secondary education, we cannot talk about it. Every Monumental development at the secondary level, including the E-blocks, were put up by the NDC government, and we are proud of our achievement. You go to the water systems, the K3 water supply, the community water and sanitation, the small water supply system, everything in terms of water supply in this country. Tell our opponents to engage us in debate, and we tell them that in terms of infrastructure development, in terms of supply of services to this country, NDC, we are head and coast apart when it comes to any comparison. So, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Amazonians, let us be proud of our achievement. We must be proud of our achievement in government and out of government. We have lived up to the motto of the party: unity, stability, and development. We have brought unity in this country. We have brought about stability to this country. To cap it all, we have certainly brought unprecedented development in this country.
And that's the national chairman of the NDC, Samuel Ofosu Ampofo. We'll be interrogating his claims pretty shortly. But the event where the party is celebrating its 30th anniversary is currently still underway. And a host of founding members of the party have also been speaking. One of them is a former general secretary of the party, Alhaji Hudu Yaya, and he's warning against monetization of the party's electoral processes. In fact, he wants tough sanctions, pointing to, of course, what he believes had happened in the NPP as a basis for the NDC itself to rid itself of any attempts internally to have the party's election processes monetized. He wants the party to crack the whip.
They even took money. According to the complaint, he's got a petition here. He's got a petition here. So, in such clear cases, the party should take very, very, very serious disciplinary action against them. And to serve as a lesson to others that we mean business. Let me also say that moneyocracy, or what is it, moneycracy or whatever it is, moneycracy, that is also something that will weaken our party. Mr. Chairman, let's make it a point. And everybody should hear loud and clear that when we are going for internal elections in the party, the questions that delegates should ask themselves should be, the person who wants us to vote for him or who wants me, who wants my vote, the question should be, how long have you been in the party? Are you a committed, loyal person of the party? Can we bear witness of you regularly participating in the party's activities at the branch, at the constituency, or the region? Because why I say so is that if we don't take time, it will be the highest bidder. And the highest bidder will not go and face the bullets. And let's also ensure that everybody who is aspiring to take a higher position is a person who we can prove that he had occupied a lower position. So that he can apply it.
So that's a founding member of the party, Hudu Yaya, very strong on the issue of monetizing the elections and possibly people within the party getting elected on the basis of who has the most money. Let me take you quickly live right now to the venue of this event. My colleague Ernest Menu is joining us with a quick update on what has been happening there. So we've heard from the national chairman, Ernest. We heard from Hudu Yaya, and I know other key members of the party. What has been the central theme of this particular event?
Well, the theme has been stability and development, which of course is the theme of the NDC. That has been the general theme of this anniversary celebration. And like you heard the chairman say, he thinks that the NDC has been the most enduring political party in the last 30 years. And in fact, he thinks that they've contributed much more in terms of infrastructure development and various facets of the national economy, more than any other political party. And so he's spoken. We've heard from also the the current member of parliament, I should say, for Pusiga. She spoke about the women contribution, the contribution of women to the NDC and, of course, to national development. She touched on a number of issues, including how the NDC has opened its doors to women and has brought them to the decision-making table. She regrets that the current administration has done very little for women as far as appointment is concerned, and she's hoping that this celebration will be a reminder to the current government to live up to its expectations. We've also heard, and you just played the sound there of the former General Secretary, who is actually the first General Secretary of the NDC, Alhaji Hudu Yaya. Now, the issue of monetization was then followed by an issue of skirt and blouse. Now, Hudu Yaya is of the opinion that the NDC could have performed better in the 2020 elections if the issue of skirt and blouse campaigning was well addressed. He cited an example that there's currently a petition before the NDC on an incident that happened in Al-Hassan Suhini's constituency, where some individuals, not ordinary members, he talks about executives or leading members of the party who openly, campaigned against him and of course the party, and so that he believes sort of affected the performance of the NDC in the last election, and he thinks the party must take a strong position against such persons.
Religious or functional lines, Mr. Chairman, if that can be proved, he should be disqualified. In the NDC, let's speak only one language, and that language is NDC. Let's go to only one mosque or one church, and that is NDC. What I mean to say is, I'm a Muslim, you are not a Muslim. But when it comes to party, please let's put that aside. Let's talk about what will help NDC. After that, we go to I go to my mosque, we go to a church. Please, I'd like to emphasize this point. Let me not be misunderstood. It is a fundamental human right for everybody to believe or pick which religion he wants to have. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to NDC, don't bring that in, because when you bring that in, you will break the party. So I'm saying that anybody who wants to aspire to a position should not aspire to that position on tribal lines. He should not aspire to that position on religious lines. And he should not aspire to that position on regional lines. And he should not aspire to that position on factional lines. We don't want factionalism in the party.
Joining me on the telephone line right now is Samuel Bamo Tokuno. He's a Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. Mr. Tokuno, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Thanks for having me, Evans.
Also joining me is your counterpart in the MPP, Nano Bribwahing. He's the Deputy General Secretary of the MPP. Mr. Bribwahing, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
It's a pleasure, my brother.
We had the national chairman, Mr. Bribwahing, make a bold declaration that when it comes to the Fourth Republic, the NDC is a clear winner. In fact, he challenges you to a debate on that, and he lists a litany of things that the party has done since the 1992 Constitution was promulgated to advance the course of development in this country. You accept that the NDC is superior in that area of development?
That is never correct. The records are there. Do you need to go in for a debate? The records are there. So glaring, so obvious. The records are there.
And the specifics, when you say the records, what are you referring to?
No, when he was talking about monumental structures. You take the Pokuasi interchange. Tell me which structure in this country has attracted international recognition than the Pokuasi interchange.
Your call has been put on hold.
You go to Tema, the interchange, the motorway interchange. We will combine the Nana Akufo-Addo era with that of Ajekum Kofour. The Shiashi interchange, the road leading from 37 through Legon, Medina, Adenta to Aburi. We, on our part, are not interested in some of these needless discussions. Needless in the sense that, as for the New Patriotic Party, we have the credentials to develop this country. We are known, and our ancestors are known, our predecessors are known in terms of development and developmental projects. Think of the proliferation of the airways. It was out the Kunko Force era when the criminal labor law was repealed. Do we need to go into these discussions?
Let's talk about the discussion that you say is needless. When it comes to improving people's lives, though, the NDC chairman is clear that hospitals are essential to improving people's lives. He cites a host of them across the region, the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, and the University of Ghana Medical Hospital, the Bang Hospital. He talks about key interventions in rural electrification, which they spearheaded and led. These are fundamental things. For example, if you're talking about health, for example, you can name one major intervention when it comes to infrastructure, for example, that makes you stand out.
Have you been to the Sunyani Regional Hospital in recent times? Just answer. Have you been to the Sunyani
No, I
Regional
haven't. You
Hospital
built it?
in recent times? No, you see, they are very good when they are shouting from the rooftop in terms of misleading, churning out misinformation and disinformation to people.
I wonder what the misinformation is. Where's the misinformation? The projects they cited, they were indeed done.
I am saying that when was the last time you visited the regional hospital?
What about it do you want to share? You're asking me.
When was the last time you visited the Konfanochi Hospital, Kumasi?
What about the Konfanochi Hospital?
A lot of structures have been put up by the MPP government. Structures who were abandoned during a Champions era. Structures which were abandoned, which were started by a champion abandoned those structures. So, as for MPP, we are proud of our credentials. We are proud of our achievement. Let me wish them a happy anniversary. But for goodness sake, they should not make the slightest mistake of trying to compare apples and then oranges.
Stay with me, Sobri Bahing. So what's the point of digging up comparisons and records? Both of you have done your bit because we employed you to do just that. So, in essence, you're saying that, applaud us because you did the job we employed you to do?
Well, Evans, first of all, I can understand the frustration of my colleague, Nana Obri Buahin. When you are in a political party that lacks vision, that has nothing to show, and every time you come into power, your stock in trade would be to perpetuate humongous levels of corruption. You would struggle to debate on record in terms of performance. But let me say that today is a very great day for the National Democratic Congress, and not only the National Democratic Congress, Ghana at large, because Ghana is where we are today because there is a political party called the National Democratic Congress. And there are a group of people who one day stood up and said, look, this country is going the wrong way. Let's take the responsibility on our shoulders as a people. Let's build a people's movement. Let's build a people's government. And it started in 1979. Now, from 1979 to 1992, which forms the antecedent of the NDC, is the period that we end the accolade, the decade that ended the decade. Indeed, this country was accelerating in terms of economic decay, social decay, moral decay. And there was a need for the people to rise up and take the responsibility and rebuild. We used 10 years to rebuild this country, and subsequently, the people of this country felt that the foundation that we have laid, the economic, social, political foundation that we have laid, the stability that we have laid, would necessitate that legacy to continue. And that is why the NDC came about. That's why we formed the NDC. So when the NDC subsequently came in to cement the gains, the economic gains, the political gains, the social gains, and the moral structure that this our government has produced over the previous decade. And that is the result of what we are seeing. Now, what Honorable Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, our national chairman, was saying was just, he couldn't have put it any better. The NPP cannot stand the NDC in any debate on public record. The NPP cannot bring their public achievements vis-a-vis the NDC's public achievements. Any attempt to do a debate on who has done more for this country, even in the Fourth Republic, less than the previous decade before the Fourth Republic came in. Even within the Fourth Republic, sector by sector, even, you would throw your eye and pick any sector at random and pick any major achievement in any sector at random that has benefited the people of this country, that will benefit unborn generations. You cannot find one without mentioning the NDC. You cannot find one without thinking about the NDC, because the NDC has been the only political party in the Fourth Republic that has achieved so much in every sector. When you talk about our education, whatever our education is today is because of the NDC. In fact, in 1992, when we were forming our party and we were also writing the constitution at the same time, which our friends in the NPP boycotted, we thought that there was a need to get to a point where education should be free. At least basic education, secondary education should be free. And we have worked consistently on that to achieve that. But not only free, education is supposed to be accessible because it's a right. It must be everywhere. Now, which government has built most educational institutions? Start from basic school, primary school, junior secondary schools. No government has invested that much than the NDC government.
Yeah, Mr. Tokuno, you say all this. So how do you then reconcile the fact that in the last two elections, the people you claim you've served with distinction in all the areas you've mentioned have rejected you two consecutive occasions that you put this same record before them?
Well, as a political watcher, I'm sure by now you know that it is not only political achievement or infrastructure, projects and development that ends political victory. I'm sure by now.
What else?
The fact that we have lost some elections does not mean that we didn't develop this country. The facts are there to show. And you see, this is a matter of public record. And when you want to do this debate, you pick the facts, you put it side by side, then you will be able to make the determination. You cannot assume that because we have lost some elections, then it means that we have not developed this country. The fact remains that the NDC government has outperformed, by all standards, the MPP in terms of our achievements, in terms of our accomplishments, in terms of even national unity, building a stable and united country. The MPP is nowhere near. And I'll readily cite a research that was done by some American somewhere in 2000, and the research was repeated somewhere in 2008 thereabout. And it's most revealing. The ordinary Ghanaian, their Ghanaianness, their identification with the country, the national unity was very evident in the results that the person got. Indeed, somewhere in 2000 when he did the research and asked, who are you? 99% of the people were saying that they are Ghanaians. But subsequently, when the MPP government came into office, and he came back and did the same research, most of them were telling you where they are coming from. Oh, I'm an Asante, I am that, I am this. That tells you clearly, vividly, that the people are losing the sense of nationalism, national unity. And I'm sure if the researchers continue the research this time under President Akufo-Addo, it will be worse. So it's not even about the economic, the social, the cultural improvement, but it's also about our national unity, our national sovereignty. The ordinary Ghanaian feeling patriotic as a Ghanaian. They call themselves the New Patriotic Party, but unfortunately when they come into government, patriotism goes on the low. People, become more self-centered because the government does not provide that kind of leadership. But be that as it may, nation building is about laying a strong foundation that will last forever. Now, most of the achievements, both infrastructure and economic, that the NDC has achieved any time that we have been in government have been achievements that has long time rippling positive escalating effect on the economy.
Yeah, I mean, still talking about this subject of development, who has done the most. I started by asking you about the two parties you've governed us since 1992. You won't disagree that both of you have contributed. Your argument is that you've done more than the other. Would you concede, though, that the MPP also have done their fair share of contributions to the development of this country? Both of you agree that that is at least something that needs to be acknowledged on both sides of the political divide?
Even that would depend on what you mean or what you define as fair share. If fair share is being in government, taking salaries, wasting state resources, putting the people through excruciating times, taxing them, and leaking the taxes into private pockets, then you would be talking about the MPP have done their fair share.
And where would you put the major policies in health, as in the NHIS and free SHS? These are huge interventions. You say you won't give credit to the MPP.
If you may permit me, governance is not about fair share. It's not about taking the reins of government and doing your fair share. Government is about impact on the lives of the people.
Yeah, and I mentioned two examples to you in NHIS and free SHS. You say it doesn't meet that criteria you just illustrated.
And Evans, that is the point that I was trying to draw towards earlier. Even with the free SHS that they claim that they have brought, it has reduced the quality of education, and that free SHS was actually planned in 1992 by the NDC. And the NDC laid the foundation for the free SHS to take. In fact, the NDC actually started the free SHS when they were in government.
I mean, Mr. Bomo, just stay with me briefly. Let me bring in quickly because of time, Mr. Briboang. Mr. Briboang, so at the 30th anniversary, the main challenge was you want to accept a debate or not on this matter. Is this something that you dismiss or you welcome, Mr. Briboang?
I think that we need to set the record straight. For far too long, they have just been making unnecessary and ugly noise as to how they are able to push this country forward. In addition that, you see, I'm very much surprised about some of the answers given by my own friend Tukono. Now, you realize that the issue of free senior high school is such a remarkable achievement for a country like Ghana in Africa or in the third world country where you've introduced free senior high school. It's such a remarkable achievement which you cannot easily quantify. Now, another point worth mentioning as far as I know is the issuance of national identification card. Before the issuance of national identification card by the Anadolu government, it was in 1970. 1970. So do the calculation. 1970 to 2020. It was a Kofi Abufabuzia who called the issuance of identification card in 1970. No other government, not even Jerry John Rawlings PNDC government, which ruled this country for so many years. So in terms of achievements, visible ones you cannot easily see with your eyes, but you can appreciate them. Look, let's not be ridiculing ourselves by comparing oranges to apples.
So you accept the challenge for a debate then formally?
Anytime, any day, any venue. Anytime, any day, any venue.
And that's Briboang. He's the Deputy General Secretary of the MPP. Earlier, I had Peter Bama-Otokono, who's also the Deputy General Secretary. The NDC obviously has today been celebrating 30 years since its founding, and just before 1992. And we're hearing a bit more on this on My Joy.